Welcome to the show, Golf Sickos. It's the Monday after a major. I'm going to hit the honesty button first thing. I didn't even tell the guys in the back I was going to do this. I'm going to hit the honesty button first thing. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
It's good.
It was great. It was fantastic. I don't know why I needed to hit the honesty button to say that I liked it, but I did. I am joined by Ben Boscovich. Guys, it is Ben's birthday. My 36 year. Look at that. You see, we got a little graphic for you.
How about that?
I'm joined by, every week I do like a different, name for you. I'm joined by my 36-year-old genius.
Oh my God, genius.
Yeah, you're a genius. Listen, we talk a lot about the show, and you and I have had this conversation about whether golf is in a better spot with a dominant figure, with one guy, or when we have kind of an elite tier, and it's not clear who's going to elevate, but there are a couple guys who feel like, their bests are as good as anyone's, and I feel like we're firmly in the a lot of guys territory. So if we go back to last year's Masters, the major winners since then, Scottie Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, Scottie Scheffler. Pretty fucking sick.
Yeah.
And then there's another tier of guys like John Rahm is still there, Justin Thomas is hanging around, Colin Morikawa is hanging around, Ludwig Åberg, Victor Hovland. It feels like golf is in it. I mean, Scottie is like a tier above those guys.
I was going to say, it feels like we have both, actually.
We kind of have both. And it's in a very, very healthy spot. Like, I feel like Scottie getting that third major, all those guys that we talked about, like most of them have two majors, and Scottie now has three. He broke through from a group that includes Xander has two majors, Bryson has two majors, JT has two majors, and then now we have Scottie and Rahm and Colin and Xander who are all halfway to the career Grand Slam, and that's, like all those guys will be like fancying their chances to get it. So are you feeling good about the future?
Yeah, it's cool. I don't remember the last time every major that came up, there was like a huge storyline that it could be this guy's third major, it could be this guy's career Grand Slam, it could be this guy's first major, even though he's a juggernaut. Like, we've got it all going.
We've got it all. We have 18 parting thoughts that we are going to dive into on the show, as well as some bits and bobs. You've done a bunch of creative preparation.
I've got some bobs.
I should mention there's a bit of a Manchester United theme on the show. Biggest game of the season. On Wednesday, we have an escape route into the Champions League, or we have Oblivion. That's why I'm wearing the United shirt. That's why I've got United behind me. But we're going to start with a little segment that we call the Knockaround, presented by Knockaround. These are the Paso Robles and Brushed Sage. These are kind of becoming my go-to, but I've got so many different Knockarounds that I love. These sunglasses are $35, which if you put these on, they don't feel like $35 sunglasses. And, as a guy who loses sunglasses all the time, I'm just kind of overpaying $200 for sunglasses, and we have a promo code. So if you go to knockaround.com and you use promo code DanOnGolf20, these are 20% off your first order, which brings these under $30. They are fantastic and amazing product. All right, we're going to hop around some stuff that happened outside the nitty-gritty of the PGA Championship. We're going to start with Nike. Yes. This ad that they put together for Scottie. Let's put this on the screen. Best player in the world, guilty. Also, they picked like the most Scottie Shuffle of the week. He looks like he's about to fall over. He's not going to fall over. It's probably going right down the middle of the fairway. When they talk about the jail stuff, like they talked about it a little bit yesterday in the press conference, I always think that he might get a little bit like sensitive about it, but you can tell that it's a joke with him and his friends.
Yeah, he's fully like moved into like, oh, I can actually like talk about this normally.
Like, there's no way, knowing how it works with agents, like there's no way, because they collabed with him on Instagram with this, there's no way they're posting this if he wasn't like, yeah, that's cool, that's funny. So I like that he's able to make light of it. So yeah, last year he stretches in a jail cell, 66, as I always mention, stretches in a jail cell, gets arrested, shoots 66. This year he wins, and guilty as the best player in the world. There was a wild pin. I saw this early in the week. The NAIA Championship, just a batshit pin. You wonder sometimes if greenskeepers are sort of taking things personally, and I think this one might have. Let's roll this clip. So it rolls up there by the hole. Pretty good speed, past the hole, and she tries to go mark it before it rolls all the way down. What a feeling. What a terrible feeling. She's like, what am I supposed to do? She's looking there in total disbelief. Like, this isn't the Masters, you know what I mean? Like, this is the NAIA Women's Championship. So then she goes to hit the putt again, and you're going to be absolutely gobsmacked at what happens now. She needed to start running right after she hit the putt, but I don't know if it ever stopped. Yeah, walk it in. So
I feel like this is one of them ones again, and it feels like it's only happening to young women. Like, I'm not trying to like overly woke this, but I think the last time we saw this was a pin at like a women's AM event.
Yeah,
and they had to like apologize for it.
They should apologize for that one. That's one of the worst I've ever seen. Speaking of college golf, the NCAAs start this week at La Costa, and so regionals were last week. or actually they were earlier this week, and we have a little graphic here about the teams that qualified. So the most of the teams that you expect to get through, so you had to finish in the top 5 of your regional to get through. And really the only big upset was UNC didn't make it. They were number 10 in the country, and they have the number 1 player in the country who's actually ranked ahead of Luke Clanton in the college rankings, not in the amateur rankings. His name is David Ford. He's the number 2 amateur in the world, maybe number 3. It's like him, Koiven, and Clanton were the 3 best players. UNC didn't make it, and there's only one individual. So if your team doesn't make it in the top 5 of the regionals, you can still get to nationals if you're the top finishing guy on a team that didn't make it, but he got beat. So he's done. So he turned pro. He's playing this week in the at Colonial, making his pro debut. So he was expecting to play at La Costa and try to win a national championship, but he's done. So he was going to win PGA Tour U. But that doesn't officially start until after NCAA, so he's just on a sponsor exemption this week. But he's basically starting his pro career right now. But we're going down. I'm going to be there on Thursday, hopefully filming content with some of these teams. All 4 of the teams I should mention that we did Scratch University for season 1 made it through. Auburn, Texas, Georgia, Florida. They all made it.
Is it us?
Is it us? It could be us. Angel Cabrera. So remember, he won the week before the Masters, week before he made his non-triumphant return to Augusta National, and he won again. It finished this morning. He won a senior major. It's his 2nd win in his last 4 starts. So the guy obviously has, and he's wearing the AC again, the air conditioning branding on the hat. Really good stuff there.
Is he going to be at Oakmont?
No, I don't think. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think. Actually, a really good question. Yeah, he won at Oakmont in 2007. I think the exemption might only last 10 years. I'm not sure. Okay. I don't think it goes to 60 like it does for the Open. I don't know.
He might be one of the hottest players in professional golf right now.
I don't know. I'm going to just leave it at that. I got nothing more to say. Rory McIlroy is going to play in the Australian Open this year. This is good stuff. You know, we talked about the Australia been sort of neglected by the PGA Tour. This is not a PGA Tour event. It's a DP World Tour event. But he's going to go play, which is really nice. Amazing golf courses. It's going to be at Royal Melbourne, which is, you know, one of the, I think, consensus 10 best golf courses on the planet. And Rory's going to go down there and play, which is great. It's good that he's sort of, you know, putting his money where his mouth is as far as, you know, growing the sport in Australia. And that they have a very golf crazy public, and they have amazing golf courses. So it's a nice move that Rory's going down there. On a more somber note, Katsuhiro Miura passed away. He was the club maker, a true craftsman who makes the Miura irons, which there's a picture of him with Adam Scott. Adam had a really nice message for him. We posted a nice tribute. I think they went and Eric Anders Lang went and visited him.
Yeah, early season of Adventures in Golf. There's an incredible episode of Eric visiting with Miura-san.
In Japan?
In Japan,
So he's just gone all over the world for that thing.
He's done it all.
So cool.
More to come.
Yeah, more to come. Sergio Garcia said that there was a lot of talk about whether he was going to play his way into the Ryder Cup. And he said, obviously, the way I'm playing, even if Luke offered me a pick right now, I would tell him, no, I'm going to hit the honesty button again. Here we go, honesty button. I think that's bullshit. I think he would play. Yeah, if they're like, hey, you want to play in the Ryder Cup, I don't think he's going to say no. There was a clip of this guy, a volunteer, grabbing Rory McIlroy's golf ball out of the lake at Quail Hollow. I think we have this as well? Yeah, look at there's. Bro, you're so on television. Like you're the most on television that you could possibly be. And the ball goes in the water, and he literally goes head first to fetch that thing. I don't know if that's going to be on eBay, but I feel like when you're a volunteer, they give you these sort of like instructions. I feel like that's probably they should put that on the pamphlet of what not to do moving forward, because just not a great visual. And we're going to finish it before we dive into everything PGA with S.H. Kim won the Advent Health Championship on the Corn Ferry Tour. There you go. Kind of looks like the CJ Cup logo, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that trophy.
Yeah, it's a cool trophy. They've had some strong trophies on that tour. Remember Bryson Nimmer with that like Jaguar thing?
Jaguar, yeah.
That was amazing. Okay, we're going to hop in now to our 18 parting thoughts. And we're going to start with Scottie Scheffler. Scottie Scheffler. And the way he was able to adapt yesterday. And I was watching a clip of Hallie Ledbetter interviewing Randy Smith, and he said that this was the most sort of proud he's been of Scottie. And Scottie's done, he's won 15 times, 16 times in his last 70 starts, including 3 majors and a gold medal. So there's a lot of material there to choose from. But he said the reason why was because, Scottie couldn't hit the broadside of a barn on the first 9 holes. He shot 2 over on the front 9, and it could have been a lot worse. He made a long birdie putt on 2. He made a long par putt on 5. So he easily could have made the turn in 40, or in 4 over par, and he was missing left. And, the lefts have torpedoed many of golfers' chances. You don't want to be missing left. But he found a way to adapt, and something clicked between 9 and 10, and he flushed his tee shot on 10. It was a huge, really important tee shot on a par 5 because, if you hit that fairway, you're going to have a chance to make birdie. He had been caught by Rahm. He hits it right down the middle, makes his birdie. 2 more perfect swings on 11, easy par. Another bomb with driver on 12, another stress-free par. 13, the par 3 was playing really tough. That green was super firm yesterday. He had a perfect 6-iron pin high. Then on 14, the drivable par 4, he had a fairway wood right into that right bunker, played it perfectly. Hit the bunker shot to about 5 feet and made it, and then smashed one down the center on 15, which all but sealed the deal. So, the great ones are able to adapt. Like they're able to hang around, and it did. There was a moment there yesterday where it felt like Rahm had the momentum. He had a putt that lipped out. I think it was on 12 to take the lead, and you're thinking Scottie's faltering, Scottie's wavering, and it's just another reminder of how long 72 holes is. But he ended up winning by 5 shots. So it's it was an interesting afternoon.
Yeah, there were energy shifts happening, but the best part of it all, the adaptation, I thought, was in Alan Shipnuck's piece for us last night that he published. He said that, Ted Scott and Scottie were discussing why they had the lefts, and Ted Scott was like, why don't you just aim a little bit more right? And Scottie was like, is it that easy? And sure enough, Wanamaker
and really flushed it on the back 9.
Yeah.
Like he made a bogey on 18, but that was when he was already marching to victory. So yeah, it just felt like 2 different chapters yesterday. And I think Tiger used to do that super well. Like not have your best, find a way to keep it, or make a couple key putts, and then patient. 18 holes, 72 holes is a long time. 18 holes is also a long time, and there's time to turn it around. And he turned it around absolutely beautifully yesterday. And I thought it was a clinic, and it feels right. Right? Like, so Scottie's won, I think I said 16 times in his last 70 tour starts, something like that. The numbers, he's won a couple Heroes, and he won the gold medal, which is not an official PGA Tour win. So the win count gets a little bit dicey, but he was on 2 majors with all those other guys, and he had only won the Masters, and now, getting into 3 majors. And this is what Alan wrote about yesterday. A lot of guys have won 1 major, a lot less have won 2 majors, a lot less have won 3 majors, and he's 28. He's 28 years old, right in the prime of his career.
I think the stat is there are only 3 people who have achieved 3 majors and 15 wins before their 29th.
So Rory didn't have 15 wins?
He didn't have 15 wins, yeah. But Tiger, Jack Nicklaus, Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah.
That's an elite group.
It's an elite group, and it seems like he played, and what I also like about him is he's so like degaff about everything. Like he didn't play truest, which is a way, the purse is way bigger than Byron Nelson, because he's just like, I just want to play at home. And he's playing this week. He's playing this week at Colonial because he can just like sleep at home. He's like, well, I can play a PGA Tour event right next to my house.
I didn't realize he was playing Colonial.
He's playing this week. He's plus 225. The next closest guy is plus 2,000. So it's just like, I don't think he cares at all really about, it's easy to not care when you win so much that like, you're going to be up there in the FedEx Cup. He doesn't have to worry about points or anything. But like he's playing this week because it's just like as simple as, yeah, no, like I have a PGA Tour event in my backyard. Why would I not play?
It's binary for him, I think. It's like win or loss. Like this whole thing about like he's just a competitor. He really just wants to win. He's like, yeah, that could be a W next week.
And I remember last year after he won the Masters, he went and won RBC Heritage the next week, and that almost scared me even more because winning the Masters is such an emotional experience for most people. For Rory was off the charts this year for different reasons, and he went to Belfast and he celebrated, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. He had a bad week. But for Scottie to just roll to Hilton Head next week, the following week, and win the tournament was like, this is almost like breathing for him.
It's just business.
And I would have absolutely 0% surprise if he won this week. So, yeah, it's awesome. Him and Xander, these guys, they won 3 of the 4 majors last year, and they both have injuries earlier this year, and Xander has still not reached that level again, but Scottie has. And Scottie's now won his last 2 events by a combined 13 shots. And he's won his majors by a little bit. I think he won he won his first Masters by 3, second one by 4. And remember, he 4-putted the last hole.
Yeah.
And he won this one by 5. So, it's not just that he's won 3 majors. He's won them all, I think, by 3 shots or more. So
holding the lead on the 3rd round, coming back. He's done it all.
And now he's got 8 straight 54-hole leads that he's converted. And, I was looking at some quotes of the guys. They were asking Fitzpatrick after he came off on Saturday, what do you need to do to win? And he said, I need to hole every putt because there's just no chance that Scottie bobbles.
Yeah.
And Xander said early yesterday that Scottie's going to win this thing. So he's a closer, too. I mean, 8 in a row. So yeah, terrific stuff. The guy deserves all his flowers. From jail to Quail. Saw that on Twitter yesterday. The club pros. The closest, there was 20 in the field. There used to be 25, and this is not, some people are going to not like this take, but I'm becoming a lot more okay with being in the minority, just in general. This is my opinion. You might disagree. That's totally fine. I think 20 is a bit much. 20 is a bit much. I might sound cranky, but I think we should cut the amount of club pros who qualify down to 10. The delta, the difference between touring pros and club pros has never been bigger. Like I said, the closest guy to making the cut missed it by 8. And I fully understand this is the PGA of America's Championship, and it's really a genuinely nice thing to highlight the contributions that these guys make to the game on a daily basis. I don't see how chopping it down to 10 would impact that in any way.
I have a counterpoint, I guess, because I feel differently about this. I respect your opinion on it, and I understand. But is it that big of an impact to let 10 more guys in? Like in this whole conversation that we're having about like money and golf, right? Like, isn't it kind of nice to preserve one of the things that has nothing to do with money and a little bit more to do with legacy, in that like that's what the PGA Championship is that it gives like those 20 guys a chance?
I just think it feels, the more time passes and the bigger the difference gets between touring pros and club pros, it feels almost
the less warranted.
It feels a little bit like a charity.
Yeah.
And it's a major championship, right?
Right.
And like we only have 4, and I'm not saying get rid of them. I'm not saying they've already done this. They've already cut it down from 25 to 20. I just think they should cut it down again. And I still think like the PGA, all of the PGA pros across the country who are really good, you just got to finish the top 10 instead of the top 20. Like I just don't, I don't think there's any marginal benefit to having 20 as opposed to 10. But it probably won't change. It's their thing. But I just was watching a couple guys in person this week, and they had no chance. And they're playing in groups with tour pros who are playing in one of their 4 majors of the year, and they're shooting 16 over par. And it's just a little bit like, I don't know. It feels, I'm going to use a big word here. It feels anachronistic. It feels like something from a bygone era.
Yes. I think that's what I'm saying I like about it, but that's a really good point, in that maybe if they re-engineered it so that they weren't playing with these guys and they played together maybe at the end of the day, and it wasn't so disruptive, because I can understand if you're a top tier player trying to win a major.
I mean, we had Willie on the show, and he was talking about Sungjae's group, and it was Sungjae, and he said Davis Riley, who ended up finishing like second, I think, but and then he was like some club pro. It's like that is a thing. Like when a pro sees that they're playing with a club pro,
that part of it I think could be adjusted pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. But we disagree, and that's fine. It's totally fine.
What it's all about.
I also disagree with Brandel Chambly. I saw him yesterday talking about basically saying that the reason that Bryson and Rahm couldn't close was they play on Live Golf and they couldn't handle the Green Mile. And I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Bryson DeChambeau literally won the U.S. Open last year. He went to Live in 2022. Like nothing's changed between when Bryson outlasted Rory at Pinehurst and now. Brooks Koepka won the 2023 PGA Championship when he was already playing on Live. And I think this whole narrative about, Live makes guys uncompetitive, I think we got to retire it.
It's not a disease.
It's not a disease. That's exactly right. And golf is an individual sport, and everyone is going to react to a change in circumstances differently.
Yes.
Is it entirely possible that Live Golf might have changed some guys' calculus and their priorities and how much they practice? Absolutely. It sure seems like Dustin Johnson is not really locked in. Brooks Koepka, I don't know. Maybe he's having motivation issues. But 2 things can be true at once. It could affect those guys, and it's clearly not affecting Rahm or Bryson. And you look at the top 3 guys on Live this year. It's Neiman, Bryson, and Rahm, I believe, and they were all in the top 8. You look at the top 3 guys on the PGA Tour. It's like Rory, Scottie, and someone else. I mean, the top 3 Live guys had a better showing overall in the aggregate than the top 3 PGA Tour guys.
Sepp Straka might be the third.
Sepp Straka might be the third. And so it's like, I can't believe that we're still doing this. And this is not a commentary on like Live Golf being the most amazing thing in the world, and I'm watching locked into Live Korea every week. But to suggest that the reason that guys don't win a major is because they play on Live, like what happens when they do win a major? Is it in spite? So it's just a tired narrative for me.
It's clear that there are 2 or 3 guys that have made the most of the opportunity, whatever the opportunity is, for going to Live to improve their golf game, because Bryson is playing better than he ever has. That contradicts the argument. They've made choices. The other guys, DJ, he's maybe made a choice to not practice as much, or I don't know what's going on, but Your point that it's like the individual decision of what to do with the opportunity.
Like, is playing on the PGA Tour the reason that Matt Fitzpatrick played the Green Mile like shit yesterday? Like, are we just only doing that for live golfers?
Really good.
It just seems like a really, really, it's like a logical fallacy. It's not only like a difference in opinion. It's like, I think it's almost demonstrably false.
Until a decade has gone by and not one of them has competed in a major, then I don't think we can have that conversation. It hasn't been long enough, actually.
But it's been long enough to see how certain guys react, and this is my whole point. It's like it's individual.
Right.
It's just like an individual thing.
It's been proven that it can be leveraged and majored by Bryson specifically.
And Brooks before that. And Brooks before that. And Rahm was, I love Brandel, and I agree with him on so many things. And we have a thing in the show that's giving him all his flowers about the driving range stuff and the swing changes stuff. But I just cannot believe we're still doing the live golf thing. Speaking of live golf, Bryson DeChambeau. This was his 5th major in his last 6th that he's had a legitimate chance.
Yeah.
Each of the last 5 majors played in the United States. He's had a chance, and I think that's no coincidence because he doesn't really like wind. Let's roll this clip about Bryson talking about what happened on Saturday.
17, hit a great 9-iron exactly the way I wanted to. The wind just pumped it. Nothing I can do. Wind flipped from being neutral off the right. It just was straight, almost straight in, and we misjudged that. Hit a great shot on 17 and just made a dumb double. And on 18, I actually had a great shot out of the bunker right on my target line. Wind just turned into me again. So it was just a tale of just the wind going into me instead of downwind, and that cost me 3 shots, and that's what happens out here at Quail Hollow.
It's almost like hitting the ball as hard as possible, as high as possible, super spinny is going to make your ball susceptible to the wind. That seems, pretty straightforward to me. And another thing that was kind of frustrating about watching Bryson this week was the wedges. And he knows it's a weakness. It's a glaring weakness. And it reared its head Sunday at Augusta and yet again at Quail Hollow. And with how well he drives the ball, I mean, he was absolutely mashing it this week. He has so many wedges into greens, and he just couldn't really get it pin high. The towards wasn't the issue. Like, he hits it on his line, but it's the carry number, and it's baffling because he's, no one really hits more balls than this guy, or is more, he was kind of one of the first, or a big champion of the clock system, and he just can't seem to hit his wedges close. And Alan Shipnuck, this is what he said: I am as frustrated as Bryson watching him hit one trash short iron wedge after another. And so I think Bryson could really use a process like what Dustin Johnson did, 5, 6, whatever it was years ago. And I think he can be even better than DJ was because he's starting from a better position. I mean, he's had a chance to win, like we said, 5 of the last 6 majors with a glaring weakness in his game. If he can focus, more so on the wedges than anything else, I think he's going to be, a big problem. But what I will say is I saw this quote this morning, and he said this yesterday. What I really think needs to happen, being pretty transparent here, is just to get a golf ball that flies a little straighter. Everyone talks about how straight the golf ball flies. Well, upwards of 190 mile per hour ball speed, like Rory and myself, it's actually quite difficult to control a golf ball. I'm going to work my butt off to make that happen. It's all up to manufacturing. We'll see what happens, but I'm keen on finding something, and I'm keen on improving. I'm excited for that. I would love a golf ball that flies straighter too. That seems like a big market opportunity. If we can get a golf ball that flies straighter, I think that's a big idea.
What about a driver with a bigger head and a bigger sweet spot?
Yeah.
Like, let's move the conforming.
I think we should. I want a golf ball that flies 320 yards down the fairway and just goes straight every time.
I want to be able to play with that club that you just press a button and it shoots it. You don't even have to swing.
Yeah, but again, I'm not gonna. I just think it's funny. Like, I saw. There's been so much talk about whether a guy speaks to media after the round. It's such a thing that we talk about every single week in this sport, and it's because of the rules. It's because they're not required to. But if we're gonna clown guys or we're gonna get on guys for not speaking to media, then I think when a guy says something like this that's a little bit silly, we're not gonna hate on the guy. It's just kind of funny, and I appreciate that he said it. Like, I prefer, and that's how I felt about the Mudball stuff, which we'll get to in a little bit. T-Mobile was a big presence this week on the golf course.
Magenta gang.
And quite a few folks were taking the piss, to use a Britishism, out of the T-Mobile activation advertisement situation on the 14th tee. It looks a little goofy, but isn't this like what we've been asking for? Yeah. I mean, ads are a part of the business. They're baked into professional sports. They're not going anywhere. And we've complained so much about the commercial load, right? We've been asking for companies to innovate how they broadcast. Golf is played on this massive field of play. Surely there's a way to do something exactly like this. So I would take this over playing through, or I would take this over a commercial any day of the week. Wyndham Clark did shit himself on this tee. He hit a terrible tee shot, turned around and flung his driver against the stanchion in the back. And apparently the volunteer who was working right there tweeted, was like, scared the crap out of me. Bad behavior. There were a couple guys who had some bad behavior this week.
I have a feeling Wyndham Clark is in a marketing meeting with his sponsor T-Mobile this morning about that action.
Or his agent is, if you're gonna chuck your club, don't do it on.
Throw it at the AT&T ad.
Throw it at the AT&T ad. Don't do it on the one that pays you. That's on your hat. Wyndham kind of crossed the line. I thought Tyrrell calling his driver an effing C was a little bit much. I got no issues with the T-Mobile situation. I did have an issue with the quality of the Wi-Fi in the media center. Don't know if that was a T-Mobile for business situation, but
it was a tough scene when the thunderstorm started and everybody flooded.
I had the hotspot for most of the week, which is it's a bit of a tough scene. Okay, the block party. The lights are on. We're out of booze. Cops are potentially outside. The block party's over. The party began 2 years ago in incredible fashion. His everyman sort of affect and his charmed play that week with that hole-in-one put a serious charge through Oak Hill. A Sunday hole-in-one on the 72nd hole locked up a T15 finish and an automatic invite into the 2024 PGA at Valhalla. And shortly thereafter, he had a pretty remarkable claim about himself and Rory McIlroy. Let's roll that clip.
What I would shoot from where Rory hits it would be stupid. I think I'd be one of the best players in the world.
How really?
Hands down. Oh, if I had that stupid length, all day.
It's actually worse than I remember. That's my first time seeing the clip. I put it in the run of show. It's worse than I remember.
That was right afterward, right?
Right after.
That wasn't just recently.
No, he was feeling himself. Ooh. He was feeling himself. I think he's missed the cut in every tour event that he's played in other than that week. So he missed the cut last year, played his way back into this year's PGA Championship through the traditional channels. He got in through the Club Professional Championship. And the broadcast showed quite a few of his shots at Quail Hollow, but he missed the cut by 14. He shot 15 over for 2 days. And that line about Rory really didn't go over well in the locker room with other professionals or really with the golfing public. And then he gave another crazy spin zone to golf.com
this week.
He said, that's kind of the funny part is I wish there was a huge crowd on every hole because that's when I hit my shots, which is just when there's no one around is when I hit my worst shots. That's something I need more in my life is a bigger crowd. I just need to play a little better so it could happen. I could only imagine what would have happened if I would have been playing really good this week. That also won't go over super well in the locker room. Not that it really matters. He's not a tour player, and he's done more than enough already in golf to be a name for the rest of his life. Like Michael Block will always
get some advertising deals, right?
He's got a bunch. But yeah, didn't go over well. Ben on kind of buried him. He said, wild take, definitely somewhere up there with the flat earthers. All parties come to an end at some point. This one died with an 82 on Friday. Quail Hollow. A lot of chatter earlier in the week about the golf course. And It's a really good PGA Tour venue. It's one of the better ones, even. It's a massive property. They've built some of those roads in the middle of the golf course to allow easy passage of people. Logistically, it was pretty seamless, and it's a good place to go watch a golf tournament. But the course itself felt a little bit underwhelming this week. It's just an eye test thing. People can say, "Oh, look at the leaderboard." Look at this. I watched the golf tournament all week, and I just didn't find that many shots to be very exciting. And, it's not just that the PGA Tour visits this course every year. It's that they do it the same time of year. It's in the first week of May. This was in the second week of May. First week of May is when they usually have their tournament, which means the same playing conditions. And let's look at Rory McIlroy talking about the lack of difference in playing conditions.
I thought it was going to feel different just because it was a major championship. And I got out on the golf course yesterday and, it felt no different than last year at the Wells Fargo. The rough's maybe a little juicier. But fairways are still they're still the same cut lines and same visuals, and so it doesn't feel that much different.
In general, I'm against yearly tour venues hosting major championships because I think part of the fun early week in majors is seeing the best players get to this golf course, hearing their thoughts about it, and they have to do a crash course in learning the golf course. It makes the practice rounds much more of a thing. And this week with the rain. early in the week. Like if this was a new golf course, those guys would have been scrambling. Instead, a lot of them had played the golf course a bunch. The lone exception to this rule is Pebble Beach, and one, because it's Pebble Beach and Quail Hollow is not Pebble Beach, but two, because they play the AT&T in February when it's soft, and then they play the U.S. Opens at Pebble in June when it's crispy and the rough is long, and it's a completely different test. And the PGA of America set up this course quite similarly to how the PGA Tour did in years past, and is a bit of a bummer. And that's 2 consecutive years that the PGA Championship has been held on, in my opinion, uninspiring venues. And of all the major, I'll just say this, another eye test thing. Of all the major championship venues that I've been lucky enough to set foot on, in terms of which ones I'd want to play the most, Valhalla is second to last and Quail Hollow is last. And those are the last 2 PGA Championship venues. The good news is we have some help on the way. We got Aronimink, should break that streak next year, and then more bangers, Olympic Club, Baltusrol, Congressional, Kiowa, courses that don't host a PGA Tour event every year. It seems pretty self-explanatory.
The only counterpoint I'll offer is that I think heading into the tournament on paper, the eye test, yes, like why are we doing it at a place we go every year? However, to your point, at the end of the tournament, the best player in the world won at 11 under was his final score.
Yeah, but it's not about the score. It's about entertainment value, and it's about, I don't know. Maybe I'm a purist, and maybe I'm looking.
It tested him, didn't it?
It's plenty difficult.
Blow it up.
Plenty difficult. It's not an issue of difficulty. It's just an issue of variety.
Yeah, that's fair.
But now I'm going to go into a couple positive things about Quail Hollow. Say one bad thing about Quail Hollow. Say one nice thing about Quail Hollow. The bunkers were super sharp. Really liked that. I love a sharp edge bunker, and Quail Hollow had a bunch of them this week. The best examples of this are really in the Melbourne sand belt, where it's even more directly cut, like the green. The grass of the green will go directly. There's almost a little bit of a grain change there. But it leads to the ball dramatically trickling toward a bunker. And then you get that sort of inflection point when you know that there's no chance that the ball is going to stop. When turf conditions permit, I'd prefer every greenside bunker be cut this way. It's a very cool look. And then one more positive note on the golf course is the last 5 holes crescendo really, really nicely. Again, Quail Hollow is an awesome PGA Tour venue. But the short par 4 14th kicked off the finishing stretch, and having a drivable par 4 on the back nine of a major championship is just awesome. And I was thinking back yesterday, Colin Morikawa and the shot he hit at TPC Harding Park, that's an iconic shot. If one of those guys, there was the opportunity yesterday to hit it to 5 feet on a par, and Adam Scott made a bogey. So it wasn't like everyone was making birdie or par. There was a little bit of jeopardy. If you missed it right yesterday, you were in a really tough spot. And then you got the par 5 15th, so there's an opportunity to play those holes in 2 under or better before you turn around and play the 3 toughest holes on the course. It's very rare to have the 16th hole be the 3rd most difficult, the 17th be the 2nd most, and the 18th be the hardest, and go 3, 2, 1 perfectly like that. There are a lot of difficult finishing stretches on lots of golf courses. The Snake Pit, where they play the Valspar, the Bear Trap, where they play the Honda. But it'll be 16 is the 4th most difficult, and 17 is the 5th most difficult, and then 18 is the 2nd, or it's the 3rd and the 6th and 4th. It's very rare to have 3, 2, 1, and then it was preceded directly by 2 birdie opportunities. So that was cool.
An actual trap. I wonder, is at Bethpage are 15, 16, 17, or 16, 17, 18 among, is it almost?
I don't think 18 is, I don't know. I don't think 18, it's 18's pretty straight.
I have a hard time at 18.
15, is 15 the one that when you cross the road, it goes
the walk up
left?
15 is, yeah.
15's really hard, 16's really, 17's that par 3. I think there's a little bit of a reprieve with 18, depends on the rough, but it's pretty straight away. But
back to Quail Hollow, you watched that trap happen to Jon Rahm in real time, trying to chase Scottie Scheffler to win a major. You saw him getting aggressive, going at pins. Was it 16 where he went in the water?
17.
Was it 17?
Yeah.
He goes aggressive at a
But he got an all-time bad bounce on 14. He hits a draw in there. He's saying, be good.
That was bad, yeah.
It kicks into the bunker, and then he hits a 4-iron right at it. Doesn't hold the green on 15. But with the way the golf course crescendos, it's part of what makes golf course architecture good, and it's part of why playing a shotgun start, you miss something, because they're not a random assortment of 18 holes. They have an order.
Yeah.
They have an order. That course is designed to be played so you have those 2 birdie opportunities before you're going to get your teeth kicked in for 3 straight holes. So if you start that course on 12, it doesn't quite hit the same.
Opening a book in the middle of it.
Yeah, exactly. Our 10th parting thought is also our dog of the week. And our dog of the week this week is Joaquin Niemann. A tip of the cap. He overcame a 74 in the first round to play the next 54 holes in 7 under, pick up tied for 8th, his best ever finish in a major championship. And that we're talking about this is a testament to how good he's been on LIV. It's the burden of success. There's expectation, and he expects it of himself too. I mean, they asked him after the round yesterday, were you thinking about posting your best ever major finish? And he said, no, I was thinking about trying to catch the leaders. And this guy's won 5 times on LIV, and if we're going to, and we've clowned him on this show for not having a top 10. And I think this was his 30th major. It might be his 31st major. But he finally broke through. And so it's only fair to acknowledge when a guy that you highlight when they don't break through, when they do break through. This was a semi-breakthrough for Joaquin Niemann in the majors. And potentially he's into the U.S. Open. Potentially he'll have his best major finish and he can keep it going. I think we all want to see, no one's rooting against him here. We're just calling it like we saw it. He was the best player on LIV and he couldn't finish in the top 15 in a major, and that is now over. So that is our dog of the week, dog mentality, a little bit of side bend for Joaquin Niemann. And we're going to take a break now for our parting thoughts, and we're going to go into the sartorial section, which is quarterbacked by our sartorial correspondent, Ben Boscovich. So we're gonna start with the best dressed of the week and then the worst dressed of the week.
That's right. I'm gonna dust off the analog notebook here.
I like it.
Okay.
It's a nice look.
Birthday present. Let
Happy
me talk
birthday.
about style for a little bit here. Okay. Let's kick off the best dressed. These aren't in any order. They're just the 5 guys that did it best this week. Or there's more than 5 guys, but let's kick it off with a guy that's always going to be on this list if he wants to be Adam Scott.
I was going to say Jason Day.
But I loved that it was orange. I love the story he's telling. I don't know if Nike was going after this and he was going after it. I want to believe so, just because he did it again on Thursday.
Could potentially be a University of Texas orange.
Could have been. I don't want to get. He never does this. Claire Rogers pointed out, he never wears Texas orange. So the fact that he's doing it a year later, it has to be
a little subliminal message. Never heard an outfit.
Yeah, not a great polo. Great message. Next on the list is a man who did it every day this week. Tommy Fleetwood put on a stripe show.
Hey, and we're not talking about his irons.
Hey, I don't know what place he came in, but I know that he was wearing this Nike polo, a striped Nike polo, every day in a different color. He did this, Charlotte nod. He did this navy with the classic orange swoosh on it. We've also got, I believe, a lilac or a purple that he put on. This is my favorite one of all of them. He just, consistency, uniform, not trying too hard. And also rounding it out with the shoes. The Nike shoes on all the scripting this week reminded me of being at the bus stop in the 90s and eyeing up your boy who on the first day of school, did he get the new Nike?
They never. So I feel like a lot of guys wear the classic, Sunday Red has a version, FootJoy has a version, G4 has a version. They don't really make shoes like that.
No,
do
they're a sports company. You know what I mean? They're not like a golf company that's been around for 100 years like FootJoy. They're a basketball company that gets into golf. So you see a lot of these athletic basketball or running-esque.
Are you not a little surprised that they haven't made like a classic silhouette shoe?
They have actually.
Oh, they have.
They used to put them on Tiger, I think, a little bit in the past. They had a saddle shoe that had a subdued swoosh on it. But of recent, I don't think they've put out one. It might be time. Who knows? But shout out to Nike and Tommy this week. Next up are the Malbon boys. And I say boys because there's multiple now.
I'm waiting for a royalty check.
Getting tired of just having to put Jason Day on these lists all the time. And he did look great this week. But Garrick Higo, newly signed this week. First of all, Flex, Travis Scott, Nike golf shoes amid the Malbon fit. But he also
those don't have any spikes on them, do they?
They might have nubs on the bottom.
Yeah, but still.
Golf.
He looks good.
The ones I'm wearing right now are technically golf shoes. And you can see on the bottom there's not any spikes. But the rest of the fits that he wore this week were just, again, perfectly oversized, not these tight superhero uniforms you see on these guys. A nice, straight leg, not even a wide leg pant. And then I think you'll appreciate what Jason wore, too. He wore not a polo, but a terry cloth button down.
I want one of these. I am trying to not wear a polo. My goal is to not wear a polo on the golf course for the rest of the year. I'm getting my short sleeve button down collection is moving. It's growing, and I just think it looks so much more polished to me than a golf polo.
You'd be hard pressed to find a better version of that shirt that you want than this one, especially because of the terry cloth. That's like wearing a bath towel on the golf course. How comfortable is that?
Yeah, and with how sweaty it was this week, I felt great.
It was very soupy down there. Okay. Second to last, and certainly not least, this is actually my number one shirt of the week, Eric Van Rooyen. He wore a shirt that reminds me of one of my favorite John Mayer songs, 3x5, where there's a lyric that the skies were painted the colors of the cowboy cliche. And that is exactly what we got with this Sunset Grayson joint from Eric Van Rooyen.
You were telling me how much you hated the Red Sox the whole day.
Well, yeah, that's why they're cropped out in this thing. And I said shirt, not outfit. Like this choice of this shirt, I love. Grayson doesn't make my favorite golf shirts. They tend to get a little too wild, as we'll come to talk about. But this was perfectly, ironically brilliant.
It looks like Simba on the, doesn't it? Like,
Simba might be in that scene there somewhere.
Okay, take us on.
I loved it. And then lastly, I just wanted to give a shout out as an honorable mention to Martin Keimer. And you'll see, once this Chiron goes away, you'll see a small little emblem on his right hip there. It's a P. That is for Public Drip. It is an independent, one-man-owned golf brand out of New York. My dear friend, Neil Tan. Pleats, yeah. And this is sort of like these Manners pants that you love so much. They're like a technical fabric. With pleats, they're a little slimmer than those ones that you have, but they are a perfect golf pant. And I just wanted to shout this out because it is amazing to see an independent golf brand, not the Nike, not a TaylorMade or a FootJoy, out there on tour. Big news probably to come between the Martin Keimer and the Public Drip of it all. I'll let Neil release that on his own time. But
sounds like you just released it.
No, it's bigger than that, actually.
Okay.
So, but it's really, this is what it's all about. It's beautiful to see these small brands out there on the golf course. More of this, please. If you represent a pro golfer, this is your PSA to go find an independent brand to dress them in. You will make headlines. You'll make it on the Dan on Golf.
Well, they're going to also, the independent brand is going to put a lot more thought and heart into the outfit as opposed to just sending you.
They might even collaborate with you on what you want to wear that week and not just script you with some ugly shit like some of these other guys.
All right, speaking of ugly shit.
All right, normally I love our boy Nico Ekvaria's style. He always looks like Sonic the Hedgehog out there to me.
That's a good thing?
Yeah, it's cool. It's like he looks fast, like he's like got balls.
He likes to go fast.
Yeah, but I don't like this kaleidoscope joint that he put on from I think it's Original Penguin here. As you can see, they put that giant penguin on the shirt. Just a little too much fast, a little too much speed. I would like to see the Eric Van Rooyen shirt on Nico here with this hat and like.
What do you think of the white shades?
I like the white shades on him.
I like him
he's
too.
He's one guy that can do it.
I feel like with the white hat, it's a nice look.
I think Min Wooli's another guy that could wear those.
But the shirt you're not feeling.
The shirt's a little too much for me. The next one is a lesson for everybody in that like good ideas can go wrong. John Rahm, I held these pants up to like a spectrum of purple shades. So we're gonna call them lilac. I love these pants.
We've said lilac twice on the show now.
Yeah, I spoiled myself early with the lilac, but these pants are fantastic. The belt is fantastic. This busy, typical Grayson shirt with the contrast buttons and just kind of ruined it for me. So this is almost there. He could have been on best dressed. If this is a plain white polo, he makes the list, but it just...
The combination matters.
It's a bit of a failure here. Yeah. You got to finish.
Okay.
You got to close, which he did not on the golf course.
Whoa!
Saying.
Is it because he went to live or is it because he's wearing an ugly shirt?
It's more likely to be the shirt than it is the league.
Fair enough.
We were talking about this on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, we were walking around and we saw him, Bryson's chevron shirt. I think the only reason you need this is if you're trying to point out like a really sick lower back tattoo that you have.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, this is an unnecessary...
I don't really get it. I don't really see what he was trying to do here.
I also don't love him out there just in a whole like gray scale. Like it's just weird. He's more exciting than that. But I don't know. His normal, he let us know how I feel about this outfit with what he wrote on his yardage book here. Okay. Next was on the list of worst dressed is basically everybody else. Every week on the PGA Tour and
everybody else.
Like, look, I actually don't even know who we're looking at.
That's
here,
Eric Cole.
Eric Cole's PXG'd out, like way too aggressive. I like the color of the shirt, but there's a lot going on there. Jordan Spieth never looks good. It's just an excuse to.
Never looks good.
I don't think it never looks good. He never looks bad, but he never looks good.
Yeah.
A little aggressive here on the Vineyard Vines whale, but also it's the Megacorp on JT Poston's hat that really drives me crazy.
I feel like that's like the bad guy in The Incredibles.
And it is so aggressively a like 8-panel hat that like we don't need this anymore. Get this guy a dad hat. It can say Megacorp on it. It can be a little smaller, but this hat.
Right, that hat does draw some attention to the sponsor.
Every time they show him on the screen, I'm like, take it off. Let's go.
How do you really feel?
Well, I'll tell you how I really feel about the absolute woat of this PGA Championship, and maybe in pro golf right now, Sergio Garcia.
Yeah, it feels like he's trying to dress like a superhero. He looks like a professional bowler. He looks like, may he rest in paradise, Pete Weber. Who do you think you are, I am?
Who do you think you are, I am? So that was the one that you threw out there this week. James Colgan from golf.com said, why is he dressed like Jafar from Aladdin? I loved that one. Joel Beal said he looked like someone from Dale Earnhardt's pit crew.
He looks like he shouldn't be allowed 200 feet within of a school with that glove.
I think this is why he should say no to being on the Ryder Cup, but also maybe say yes, because then he doesn't get to pick what he wears. He just gets to put in a uniform. So maybe the Ryder Cup is the best sartorial decision Luke Donald could make on behalf of Sergio Garcia. Sergio, I get it. Your team name is the Fireballs, and red and black are your colors. Man, United. Also, I understand that the Spanish flag is yellow and red, but when you wear it, you look like Ronald McDonald. Stop it, bro. Just stop it. And that is your best and worst dress.
Fantastic. Birthday boy, absolutely crushed it.
Thank you.
All right, can we hop back into golf now? You got that off your
golf.
You got that off your chest. No, that was great. I enjoyed. We did that last major. We're gonna do it next major too. We're that's a scratch difference. We're not just gonna talk about what they shot. We're gonna talk about
next major's in my hometown too. So these boys better show up in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, baby. I got to book a hotel.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a house or a hotel?
I have a hotel already. You should probably get a house.
Why don't we get a house?
We'll talk about it later.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. What we'll talk about now is Rory McIlroy. So couldn't have asked for a better lead-in. Wins the Masters. I don't know if you heard. Completes the career Grand Slam. Gets this massive monkey off his back. Plays, kind of eases back into it with Shane Lowry at the Zurich. They were kind of in contention. Mm-hmm. Then I think he finished 7th at the Truist and said he played really poorly. He's won at Quail Hollow 4 times. Jordan Spieth called it Rory McIlroy Country Club. This was just the 30 millionth reminder of just how difficult. Rick Gehman, you're a saint for doing it every week, because trying to predict this game is just, except for me, I did choose Scottie this week. But it was a perfect course fit. There are a bunch of holes where carrying it, 310 plus gives an exponential advantage. And he proceeded to shoot just a lifeless 3 over 74 on Thursday. Drove the ball like shit, which was, a lot of it was about his, the driver. There was a lot of talk about the driver. Speaking of the driver, just a total non-issue.
Yeah.
That was a fake controversy. That was an internet troll controversy trying to say that, he was trying to do something. It happens every single week on tour. They test drivers every week. Scottie Scheffler's failed. And Scottie Scheffler had to use a backup, and it wasn't a controversy. No one was saying that he tried to game the system before. It happens every single week. And there were a lot of guys who were talking about, should they test everyone every week? I think maybe. Scottie said something interesting. He said, why don't you put it on us? Every other rule is for us to self-police. And it's one of the amazing things in our game. I actually think if they said every player must test his driver before and make sure that it's conforming, I think the guys would do it, and I think they would be honest about it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many opportunities for guys to cheat out there on their own, and they don't do it. And it's one of the things that makes our game great. So I think that's actually when he first said it, I'm thinking, that's not going to work. And then I thought, you know what, it actually might.
Yeah, I really love that.
I think if you said to guys, you are responsible for making sure that your clubs are conforming, I think the guys would do it. I think there is still that sort of tacit agreement. I wish we had Michael Bamberger on the show to wax poetic about, the integrity of this game, because speaking of which, I started his book. He was on the show, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
That book it's not really about anything. It's so good.
Unsurprising.
It's just so good. But yeah, Rory was, I just wanted to kind of,
that's not a story. It's just a cool thing we learned about this week. That's something that happens every week that we didn't necessarily know about, or a lot of times, a lot more often than we thought. These guys get their drivers checked for.
Yeah, they get their drivers checked, and that's another variable. Sometimes a guy, doesn't get to use the club that he wants to use. But it was just nothing untoward. The governing bodies test these every week. There's no question as to his motivations. It was not a corked back situation, no matter what the sort of Rory haters online want you to say. One more Rory thing. He didn't speak to media all week, which is odd. I tweeted something being like, what is there to say about the driver situation? Because I didn't think that there was much, and I was not expecting him to then skip media the next 2 days. I don't have a lot of energy for they need to talk. This is a direct function of the rules, saying that they don't need to talk. But, I wish he would have talked one time, I guess. That's kind of all I have to say. I just don't really have much energy for it. That said, he delivered an all-time quote on Wednesday. Let's roll this.
Look, I've achieved everything that I've wanted. I've done everything I've wanted to do in the game. I dreamed as a child of becoming the best player in the world and winning all the majors. I've done that. So everything beyond this, for however long I decide to play the game competitively, is a bonus.
That is such a flex.
Enough said.
That is such a flex. I've done.
Sorry, I'll argue he has not completed everything. He hasn't won an away Ryder Cup.
That's not true. He was on the 2012 team at Medina.
Shit. Well, he said he wants another one.
He wants another one. He's done literally everything that there is to do. He's won the players too.
So good, bro.
I've done everything I've wanted to do in the game. I dreamed as a child of becoming the best player in the world and winning the majors. I've done that. And he's 36 years old. It's not like, Some guys, have to wait until they're 70 to complete their business goals. He's 36. He's your age. You and Rory are the same age.
We are, yeah. It's a nice mic drop.
Have you done everything that you've wanted to do in the world, and everything from here on out is a bonus?
In my career, yeah, I actually have.
Really?
Yeah, I feel very satisfied.
You and Rory?
Yeah.
1-2. I just thought that was a quote that was just like, sometimes you're reading transcripts, and I saw that, I was like, whoa. Because I think we all thought and sort of hypothesized that he was feeling that way. For him to actually say it, it was like, okay.
It punctuates it.
Mudballs and embedded balls. Mudballs were the talk of the town on Thursday. So Scottie Scheffler and Xander Schauffele both hit it in the middle of the fairway on 16. Both hit like banana hooks into the water. Shots that they just don't have in their bag. And they actually won me over with their reasoning as to why the PGA of America should have played the ball up or preferred lies. I was definitely in the minority among media, which I'm cool with. You can call me Minority Dan for all you want. I really don't give a shit anymore. The consensus was, these guys are soft. It's part of the game. And I wonder if I'm going to be in the minority again with this take. But first, let's show what Scottie had to say. He was pissed. Let's show what Scottie had to say about the Mudballs.
It's one of those deals where it's frustrating to hit the ball in the middle of the fairway and get mud on it and just have no idea where it's going to go. And, I understand it's part of the game, but there's nothing more frustrating for a player. I mean, you spend your whole life trying to learn how to control a golf ball, and due to a rules decision, all of a sudden you now have absolutely no control over where that golf ball goes. But, I don't make the rules. I just got to deal with the consequences of those rules. And, I did a good job of battling back today and not letting a bad break like that, which cost me a couple shots, kind of get to me. And did a good job battling after that and posting a decent score.
So he really could have won by 7. Because that cost him 2 shots. Like, he's not hitting that ball in the water if there's no mud on it. So I was in the minority there. And I think I might also be in the minority potentially with this take. Minority Dan continues. So a situation like Shane Lowry's on Friday should result in free relief. So let's show what happened on the 8th hole on Friday.
If it gets into the rough, that is going to be a dicey proposition.
I'm just saying. Yeah, no, I mean, if it's back there, like, I mean, there's a referee on every hole.
I'm not making excuses for the reaction after, but I think finishing in anyone's pitch mark should result in a free drop. So if that situation happened and it was his own pitch mark, he would get a free drop. And that's one differentiator between, everyone's going to say, what about divots? If you're in your own divot or someone else's divot, it doesn't matter. There is a rule on the books that if you are in a pitch mark, you don't have to play it because it's unplayable. With a divot, you can still get to the back of the ball. Guys still hit it close from divots all the time. That was impossible. That's why the rule exists in the first place. There was a wall of turf in front of his ball. He had no chance. Hitting a ball out of a divot onto the green is a skill. There's nothing that you could possibly do. It's not a navigable problem, and that's why the rule exists. And it's also way easier to identify when a ball is in a pitch mark than when it's in a divot. That's my 2 cents. I fully acknowledge that maybe I'm spending a little too much time around players. I'm getting a little soft, getting a little player friendly. I can hear the purists saying, just play it down. As I say this, I hear that in my head. I hear Alan Shipnuck saying these guys are all soft. But I just think if you're in a pitch mark, no matter whose it is, if your ball finishes in a I don't know what the word is, finishes in like a little, if it's submerged in any way and it's clearly in someone else's pitch mark, because that was clearly in someone's pitch mark. They weren't saying you're not in a pitch mark. They were saying just it wasn't yours. And no one's going to tap that down. I just think that situation should result in free relief.
I don't think it should matter whose it is. I agree with that, or what kind of impairment it is. But I would say that maybe they could separate it by and I said this on our live shows this week, if the golf course has been altered by a golfer that has played before you, you should get relief.
So you think they should get relief from divots too?
Yes, I do. But mud, on the other hand, I feel differently about. That's a part of the golf course that was there already. It was part of the earth that was there already. And it's you would say, do they get relief if their ball hits a tree and has a scuff mark on it? It would be the same thing, right? So if an act of the earth causes your ball to be less strikeable, then tough shit. But if somebody has altered the fairway and left it imperfect for your perfect drive, then I think that's pretty low.
And we're only talking about the fairway here, right? Yeah. We're not with divots and we're not talking about necessarily in the rough.
Well, the embedded ball stuff in the rough, I still.
Yeah, if your ball's in a hole, you shouldn't have to hit it. I think that's pretty.
Yeah,
cut and dry. That's why there's already a rule exists that if your ball is in its own hole, so why does it change that it's someone else's hole? It's not
that's the inconsistent part that probably needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's my thing. Siwoo, top 10 in the major. The legend of Siwoo continues to grow. I've gotten to know Siwoo over the last few years, and he's gotten more and more comfortable with his English. And I agree with Scottie Scheffler, who said that he's one of the funniest characters on tour. The guy drinks tons of Red Bulls, and then if he gets too jittery, he pops an Advil PM to find homeostasis. He wears his emotions on his sleeve on the golf course. He never minces his words. I asked him, we did a one hole with last week at the Truist, and I asked him what it was like to play alongside Scottie Scheffler during the first 2 rounds of the CJ Cup, which Scottie wound up winning by 8, and here's what he had to say.
Like, I feel so poor. I feel like rubbish. I feel like I'm not on the PGA Tour. Like God versus like way bottom. Like all the irons like right at the pin. Like I feel like Pin's gonna pulling his boat like this, fishing. He's a magnet.
He played with Scottie again on Saturday. Scottie shot 6 under. He played with Rahm on Sunday, and Rahm was making a push. So Siwoo's like there's something about playing with Siwoo. They caught him smoking a cigarette earlier this week. Let's roll that clip.
Just hitting one. He didn't even smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, it was a passive smoke. You know, it was like that's like hitting a vape, but with it being still analog and just burning the rest of it. I asked him about it. I had never seen that before, and he said, "I'm getting old and stressed," which usually I think getting old is when you quit cigarettes. And then he made the longest ace in major championship history at over 250 yards and celebrated like he was in a good video. Let's show that.
4 under par. Currently has the best round going of any player out on the golf course.
Such a buttercut fairway wood. Nothing fluky about this.
Just spun so nice too.
How good?
Tosses that thing. Bro, you like that club. Where'd it go? Also, there it is.
We have on Scratch's Instagram, we put a tracer on the club that after he threw it. Check that out.
You throw a club. The way to throw a golf club is to throw it horizontally,
which Max Homa did.
Which Wyndham Clark didn't really do. But no. you don't toss it up because then it can land on the head and snap. And you just made a hole in one with that club.
Good point.
Surely you like the club. The crowds loved him this week. They were constantly doing the woo. That kind of sounds like a boo if you don't know. And then he was serenaded a few times by the see woo, shaking that ass. He's the best. Love to see him get a top 10 in a major. We are Team Siwoo here. Fairway woods are all the rage in golf. Now, I am old enough to remember when all the cool kids were getting rid of their 5 woods and getting rid of their hybrids and putting driving irons in the bag. Furniture was the enemy. That's what old country clubbers used. I'm going down to a 2-iron. Like you were a good player. It's flipped now. We have entered the era of high lofted fairway woods. It's no longer noteworthy for guys to have 7 woods in the bag. That was Matt Fitzpatrick was one of the first ones. Dustin Johnson was one of the first ones. The new frontier is 9 woods. We are one step away from double-digit fairway woods. Colin Morikawa put one in play this week, and he was far from the only one who said it's. He said it's actually amazing. If I have 225 out and I need stopping power, it probably goes higher than any club in my bag. Why wouldn't you use it? On weeks like at majors with long rough, these clubs are a weapon. You can chop it out of the ball. You can chop the ball out of the cabbage easier than with a long iron, which has a more pronounced leading edge, so it gets caught up in the rough a little bit more. Guys used to hate hitting them off tees because they spun so much, but technology has really improved. And I actually just got a full bag fitting. I went the other way. I got rid of a hybrid in favor of a driving iron, but that's because I don't play golf courses with 5-inch rough and with super firm greens. And country club golf, that little 250 shot down the middle is a weapon for me. And I want the ball to be not in the air as long as possible because I don't, my mechanics aren't as good as these guys. But it does feel like it's kind of flipped where, for a while it was like if a guy had a 3-iron in the bag, you're like, this guy's a player. Now if a guy has a 9-wood in the bag, I don't want to play against that guy.
This has been very beneficial for me in my own game right now. As you know, I'm not the longest player, so I'm left with a 210 sometimes into a par 4. And I, at my most recent fitting, switched out of a hybrid into a 5-wood, which is the highest lofted fairway wood I've ever had. And it's like the best club in my bag.
Bro, 5-wood is JV numbers these days. You got to pump those numbers up.
Oh my God, I'm throwing it up in the air. It's spinning backwards. I hit a green last.
You got to go 7-wood and 9-wood.
Well, we'll see.
5-wood's not cool anymore.
I don't know if I'm old enough for that yet.
You got to. It's not, bro. Colin Morikawa is 27 years old, whatever he is, and he's got a 9-wood in the bag. So there's no. That's not a thing anymore. It's not a thing anymore. Like I remember. I went to first time I went to my wife's grandparents' place in Naples. They had a plaque of her making a hole-in-one with a 9-wood, and it was like a funny thing that I tweeted, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, a 9-wood!" Now Colin Morikawa's using it.
Yeah.
So Emma's grandma was ahead of the curve. Yeah, she made a hole-in-one with a 9-wood. Alex Noren, we actually talked to this guy last week at the Truist, and he was telling us that it was his first start since October. He had a hamstring issue. So he was explaining there's a couple different, I didn't really understand, a couple of different muscles in the hamstring, and when he was doing some testing, it was fine, and so the physio said he could go. He actually showed up to Hawaii and tried to play didn't play, and then took another 4 months off. But this is going to take us. He played himself into the final pairing. I think he finished 17th. But in an era when so many guys are constantly tweaking their golf swings and working on different stuff, Noren stays doing that same thing. I'm going to demonstrate right now if we can come back to me. It's this one. He goes boom, boom. Oh, that didn't work.
Tomahawk.
Like that. He's doing this, and he's probably done it 50,000 times. And it feels like a good question for a consulting interview. How many times has Alex Noren done that rehearsal? It's like, I remember when I was in college and guys were going into consulting interviews, they'd get asked, how many parking meters are there in New York City? And they kind of just want to see how you think.
Right.
Oh, well, if New York City's a grid and there's 200 vertical streets and 100
mental math test.
It's like mental math. I want to know how many times Alex Noren has done that rehearsal, because he, and actually John Rahm is the same way. There are guys who are constantly tinkering, and then there are guys who do the same exact thing, work on the same exact thing over and over, and it's a fascinating contrast.
What is the drill? Like, why are you...
I think he tends to get under, and the club gets behind him, and so he's doing this really exaggerated rehearsal of the club going first and then turning. The club going first and then turning, because he wants to avoid turning and then having the club get behind him.
That's funny, because it's like the worst move for an average amateur.
Literally the worst thing you could work on.
You get so good that you work on the worst move ever just to make your move better. That's
and then he's a classic feel versus real guy, because you see him, he does the most exaggerated. He'll go like this and then literally take the club and put it straight down. He'll go like this and put it straight down, and then you see him swinging.
That's kind of what I was going to say about Bryson with the wedges when you were talking about it. It's like, is he almost too dialed in with the math of his wedges, and he needs to become a better feel player and stop thinking about it?
I think it's possible. I think it's definitely possible. I don't know exactly what the issue is, but there is an issue. And speaking of tweaking, so more on tweaking, but not the drug kind, just the golf kind. We had Brandel Chambly on Down on Golf a few months ago, and I kept going back to this week. Here's what he had to say.
The ability to look at video and go into data deep dives and change what is already working is certainly an epidemic of this generation because they have so much information. But it's very, very dangerous. The most dangerous place at a golf course is not aim-in corner. It's not the snake. It's not the bear pit. It's the driving range.
Yeah.
That is the most dangerous place at any tour event. More games are killed there than anywhere else.
So many world-class players are tempted by perfection. They want to neutralize their path or be able to shape it both ways, and that desire to constantly improve, which, granted, is part of the motor that got them to where they are, it convinces them to stray away from an already solid formula. So take Max Homa, for example. He was in the mix after 2 rounds, faded on the weekend, but he spent more time hitting balls this year than anyone else, only to eventually come full circle and decide he wants to go back to how it was before. Here was Max Homa this week.
Felt like about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, John Scott came out for a few days, and we really dove into I got more honest with him about what I thought we should do, and it's gonna hopefully be one of those things I remember. I said, I think I should swing it like this, and he said, okay, show me, and I showed him. He goes, okay, let's mold off of that, let's make that the model, and it felt more like my old golf swing back in 22, 23-ish, I guess 22, 23, and I kind of knew the misses better. My hands just worked through the shot better. And so, about 2.5 weeks ago, I was like, okay, I see the misses. It's been hard. I felt like I've been playing with a foreign swing at times.
And that's frustrating to hear, because swing changes are often a flat circle. You end up where you started. You spend a year or two trying to discover the fountain of youth, only to pull up cell phone videos from a couple years ago and going back to that. And Davis Riley, who ended up finishing, I believe, tied for second, said something similar on Saturday. Here's Davis Riley.
It was a pretty big struggle to start the year, and there's a couple of tweaks I made in my swing and trying to get back to some of my old DNA and seeing draws, really. So I'm starting to get more and more comfortable as the year has gone on, starting to see the ball right and turn left. I feel like I play my best golf, especially with my irons, if I'm hitting a little draw and just a small cut off the tee. So I'm starting to really see those shot shapes and trust it a lot more on the course, and that's kind of, at the beginning of the year, I was able to do it at home, but I was just never really got comfortable out on the course because I was trying to soften the draw a little bit, and I was trying to tighten some start lines, but I've kind of figured out I've just played my best golf when I embrace a little bit of the draw. And, I'm just honestly just more and more comfortable on the golf course and trusting those shot shapes.
That's exactly what Brandel was talking about, why the driving range is dangerous, because he did it on the driving range. right? He said, I want to tighten up these start lines. I want to soften the draw a little bit. It was fine on the range. And then you get on the golf course, which is not the driving range. And look, Tiger Woods played the best golf anyone's ever played and then decided he needed to change his swing. So it shouldn't be a surprise that a generation of golfers who idolized him have adopted that always improving mentality. But would they be better off sticking with what got them to the top? Maybe, but that's not how a lot of them are wired. There's no right answer. There are guys like Alex Noren and John Rahm who seem to be working on the same things all the time. And then there are guys who go on this hamster wheel where they're looking for something, and they're like, oh, I realized that I was better 2 years ago.
I think the process is the point. Like, they know they have to go through the process. They have to try it, because I think as all golfers, especially professional golfers, we're like dopamine addicts. Like, that feeling of the center of the club face, like feeling it in the right way is addicting. So if you need to go through a process to just get back to the way that you learned how to do that originally, like, maybe that's worth it.
But yeah, 100% I get it. I'm not wired like those guys, but just hearing Max say that and hearing Davis Riley say that made me want to bang my head into a wall a little bit. Like, it's so clear.
It's a test of patience.
I mean, Colin Morikawa, the same thing. It's like, sometimes he'll do something, and then he's like, I'm getting back to hitting a cut. It's like, don't ever stray from that.
He won a couple.
That's why you won your majors. Our final thought, our 18th parting thought, how funny would it be for the PGA of America to make such a bold decision to pick Keegan Bradley to be the Ryder Cup captain, 37 years old, right, still in the prime of his career, only for him to play so well that he plays his way onto the team and then hands the duties over to Jim Furyk, who's the exact type of captain that the PGA of America wanted to depart from. It's a serious possibility now. So Bradley entered this week. He was down in the Ryder Cup points, but he was ranked number 19 in the world rankings. He fired an opening round 67, hung around all week for his first major top 10 since the 2022 U.S. Open, just the fourth of his career. And I've said all year, I think he should announce that he's going to focus solely on being the captain. They handed you this, they made him the captain like the week before he won in BMW. So it wasn't really a conversation about him being a playing captain. Then he won BMW. He started the year strong this year. Really good showing in the major. And I asked him on Thursday a question. Let's roll that clip.
I don't know. I want to help the team the best I can. If that means playing, then I'll do that. But I think it's pretty difficult to do both. But I have incredible vice captains, including Jim Furyk, who's done this before. Snedeker and Webb and Kisner have all been assistants. So we got a great team. But when it comes down to if I think that's going to help us win, that's what I'll do. But that's the only thought in my head.
He said he's going to reassess after the U.S. Open, like kind of who's on his team and where he's at. He says he's not going to do both. He's not going to be playing captain. So if he plays well enough, Jim Furyk will likely be the captain of the Ryder Cup team, which is, another major top 10 at Oakmont, and he and the PGA of America might have a situation on their hands.
He's been pretty consistent with this answer. I think it's because he knows that like being hot going into the Ryder Cup means a lot of how that team is. And if he's not hot, but he's had a couple wins, like he's not going to do it. But I actually disagree with you. I think he should play if he earns it and if he's hot going into the tournament, because you don't lose the captain just by him not being a playing captain.
But that's what he's saying. He's saying that he doesn't feel like he can do both.
I think the reason he was chosen is because they wanted to shift like having an emotional leader like him as the leader, and you don't lose that element of it by him playing. If anything, that gets elevated, in my opinion, by him playing. It's like the emotional leader is out there with you. Kind of cool.
I was just surprised that this was only his fourth top 10 and a major in his career. He drives it so well, hits it so high. It was curious to me that he hadn't had that much major success. Obviously, he won one in his first try, but only 3 top 10s in majors in the last 14 years for a player who's won as much as he has and has been as good as he has. But yeah, something to keep track of as we move forward. So that wraps up our 18 parting thoughts. Now we're going to do, we talked a lot about golf courses, about this specific golf course. Now we're going to do a blind ranking of PGA Championship venues. And you're going to quarterback us here again, Ben.
Yeah, let's start it off. I want to remind the audience that this is a blind ranking. I
haven't seen these courses, so if the order is weird, it's because I don't know what courses are coming.
We got a lot of shit for like where you put Adam Scott on the swing ranking. He didn't know what else was coming. It's not really his fault. So keep that in mind to our audience.
But I'm okay being in the minority. We talked about that.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine with it. Yeah. This will be fun. These are PGA Championship courses. The rubric was I tried to pick courses that they've played at least twice at, so they're like count as a PGA Championship course, not just because any course can be a PGA Championship.
Right, like Riviera, you can
just put it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Riv has hosted it, I think, in like the 30s or something.
They hosted in 1995. Steve Elkington.
Oh, it was 95. Yeah.
Maybe one more time, but I hope that's not on the list because I don't think of that as like a PGA Championship.
It's not, and for that reason.
Okay, close my computer, says Andy. Computer's closed.
And every once in a while, let's give the audience a look at where you're at here. I'd get rid of that eraser because I think that's an illegal prop here. Okay, let's kick it off. We're going to start with Southern Hills. Where do you rank this?
Southern Hills. When they played it in August, I wasn't there, but apparently one of the hottest places ever. Tulsa, Oklahoma in August. It was really good in May. Look at the crowd. That 18th hole was awesome. It's an old school Perry Maxwell design. I like Southern Hills. They don't have tour events there. I'm going to put Southern Hills at number 3 because I just really like those last couple of holes. And I'm putting it there because moving forward, it's in May and it's not in August because August in Oklahoma, I want no part of.
Great scene there. I like it. We're going to move on to another hill. One might call this the house that Blocky built, Oak Hill.
Oak Hill is an amazing golf course. Donald Ross design. They've made a renovation recently, take a lot of the trees out. I thought Oak Hill was an awesome test. Felt a little U.S. Open-y with the long rough. So I'm going to put it right beneath the other Southern Hills at number 4. But again, Rochester, it goes the other way. I feel like Rochester in August is a safer bet than Rochester in the second week of May. It could be a little cold, could be a little rainy, and it feels like just the beginning of the season, whereas the Northeast, it feels like the later in the season, the better the golf courses get. But I'm still going to go number 4. That's a good one.
Okay, the next course could host any major, but it has hosted multiple PGA Championships. Bethpage Black.
It's a strange. I mean, it's an amazing venue that was a U.S. Open track. They had it in 2002 and 2009, and now the PGA of America has sort of co-opted it. They had the 2019 PGA Championship where they got the Ryder Cup going there. I'm gonna put this number 1. I'm gonna put this number 1 because it's New York. It's not Rochester, so it's a little bit later in the season. It's a little bit further south, and just the New York fans, and it's a Tillinghast design, which I am obsessed with. Hard to beat Bethpage.
Would you go so far to say that if you had to pick, if the PGA Championship was like the Masters and had to be played at the same place every year, that you would make it Bethpage?
Yeah.
I think I feel the same.
I'd
be so happy with that.
I think that's a really good shout. I mean, they're not going to do it, but if there was one course where I had to pick, I mean, even if we just did like a little rotation, all 3, I hope you have some other ones, like some ones that aren't like this, because these 3 are some of the best, and I feel good about having Bethpage Black number 1, Southern Hills number 3, Oak Hill number 4. Let's move on.
I think your list is going to work out well for the haters this week based on where you've started. Let's go to Whistling Straits next.
That's another great venue. Man, is that a good one. Beautiful, right on Lake Michigan there. The one thing I'll say about Whistling Straits, that's spelled wrong, first of all. There's no GH. It's Straits.
No, that's my fault.
That's okay. It works. I mean,
it doesn't work, but it's
yeah.
I'm supposed to be able to spell.
Not like you're an editor or anything. The one thing I'll say is it looks a little bit more like an open course. It looks like Ireland. I think that was kind of the motivation when Mike Kaiser and I think it's Pete Dye built this golf course.
Yep.
So I'm going to put it at number 6 just because it's awesome. This is not a list of courses I'd want to play because it would be higher on that list. I have played it, but it just looks looks like Ireland a lot.
Okay. That wasn't the ocean, as you said. That was Lake Michigan. It looks like the ocean.
It does look like the ocean.
Let's move to the ocean, Kiowa Island.
Kiowa was good, man. Phil winning there was an absolute movie, major motion picture.
I picked the photo of DJ just picking.
This is, I will say that of the golf courses that I've seen, visually, this might be the most intimidating. It's a Pete Dye course, and the tees are just so far back where they play the PGA that there's a lot of holes where you're standing on the tee, you can't even see the fairway. I'm going to put it, I have to leave some room. I'm going to put it number 5. It could be number 2. It could be number 5. I'm going to put it number 5 just because it's also really, really hard to get to. Really hard to get to.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for as good logistically as Quail Hollow was, I think Kiowa is the other way. The traffic is out of control. It's literally one road in, one road out. So I'm like an old cranky media guy saying, it takes me too long to get to the media center. That's why it's number 5.
It's a bridge, too. It's not just one road. Like, you just got to, it's an island you're going to.
It's literally an island.
The ocean course clocks in at 5. Okay. Next up, I always have trouble pronouncing this for some reason, Baltusrol. Yeah, it just got a big redo, just got a big renovation. It's hosted a ton of majors, but also a lot of U.S. Opens in the past. They've got the upper and the lower. The lower has been open for a couple of years in renovation. The upper is opening like very, very soon. Yeah, classic New York, good. Doesn't like get me super crazy fired up.
another Tillinghast design. I'm putting Baltusrol at number 7. These are all good ones so far, though. You've started with some good ones. Okay, we're going to hold it up. We got Bethpage Black, number 1, Southern Hills, number 3, Oak Hill, number 4, Kiowa, number 5, Whistling Straits, number 6, Baltusrol, number 7. But all very good golf courses. These are all the good venues.
All right, last 3. The Atlanta Athletic Club. Where are we putting that?
Never been there.
Same.
So that's hard.
It's hosted, I think, 2, if not maybe 3.
Yeah, I've never really heard anyone say that Atlanta Athletic Club is on their bucket list. I'm putting it number 9. Again, haven't been there. Don't know all that much about it. But when you hear about golf courses in Atlanta, you hear Eastlake, you hear Peachtree. Atlanta Athletic Club doesn't really get the juice.
I wasn't as familiar with it either. The photos that I was looking up did look very cool, though. I'd like to try it out. All right. Oh, I missed one. Medina. Doesn't matter. There's no order.
Yeah, there is no order. Medina, another course that has been renovated recently by Jeff Ogilvy. So they're playing the President's Cup there next year, and he's the captain on the golf course that he designed the renovation. I just remember it being, I have played it before the redo. I can only rank what I've seen. I haven't seen the redo yet, but it was just kind of big and a lot of trees and really hard. I'm putting it at number 8, but I'm going to put an asterisk next to it. And I'm also putting an asterisk next to Baltusrol because those 2 courses have been significantly renovated, and I haven't seen a tournament there since. But Medina's a little, and also it has the ghosts of 2012 where we blew it and the Europeans came back on us. So it's also like kind of far out there in the city. I always stay at my in-laws, and it's far away. So that's also, I just have I have complicated feelings toward Medina. It's number 8.
All right. What 2 do we have left? What spots do you have open?
2 and 10.
2 and 10. So is Hazeltine number 2 or number 10?
Well, I got a feeling that I know what's coming at number 10. So the blind rank, I should have put Kiowa at number 2. I should have put Kiowa at number 2. Hazeltine is going at number 2, and this is fully a casualty of the blind ranking protocol. Because I haven't been there. They just hosted the USAM, pure, big, but the Europeans did not like it when it hosted the Ryder Cup because it was just really big, not a lot of rough. Minnesota in the summer is apparently like one of the best places that you could possibly be. Mm-hmm. Another one that might be a little dicey in May, but I wish I could put it lower, but I can't.
It's a tough one. All right. Actually, can we pull up that photo of Hazeltine again? I just want to make sure Dan saw it. It's so beautiful, beautiful. Look at this.
That's fog.
I know, that's awesome.
But that's like you were going to give Hazeltine credit for fog?
No, I'm just saying the photo is beautiful. I'm giving the photographer credit here.
Is that Tiger Woods?
It is Tiger Woods.
Okay.
You were looking down. I just want to make sure.
I'm just saying that's okay. So that you could have told me that was Rancho Park, and I would believe you because that's just Tiger Woods and fog. I mean, to chalk that up to the greatness of Hazeltine feels.
I'm not chalking it up to the greatness.
You just wanted me to see a nice photo.
I just wanted you to see a nice photo.
Thank you, Ben.
Just a good friend.
Okay, number 10.
Quail Hollow.
Yes, good. I thought it was going to be there. Nothing necessarily against Quail Hollow. It's just that's PGA Tour venue. It's a PGA Tour venue every single year, and they play at the PGA Tour event in the first week of May, and they play the PGA Championship. And it just feels like we're saying, oh, yeah, we decided that you are going to host a major this year. And Rory said it himself. No, it was the same as the PGA Tour event. Major championship venues should not be the same as a yearly PGA Tour event. So here is my list. I feel pretty good about it. I just wish that Hazeltine was a little bit lower. We'll start with number 10, Quail Hollow. Number 9, Atlanta Athletic Club. Number 8, Medina. Number 7, Baltusrol. Number 6, Whistling Straits. Number 5, Kiowa. Number 4, Oak Hill. Number 3, Southern Hills. Number 2, Hazeltine. Number 1, Bethpage Black. And I heard myself saying, oh, I'm going to give the ranking if it wasn't a blind ranking, but that's not the segment.
It's not the segment.
That's not the segment. So we're going to leave it as it is. Good stuff again, Ben. I really like that. I thought Valhalla was going to be on there, but it wasn't.
Got to toss a couple of
Atlanta Athletic Club kind of. I feel good about the bottom 3, honestly. I mean, you know what? No more.
Always one that's gonna
no more explanation.
That's the point.
No more explanation. I want to talk to you guys quickly about Sugarloaf Social Club. I usually wear Sugarloaf Social Club on this show, but it's United Week. They had another banger of a drop last night. Their newest drop features a collab with Seamus. T-shirts, hats, and more limited pieces, thoughtfully designed and made for those who get it. Head over to sugarloafsocialclub.com and grab yours before it's gone. I've seen a sneak peek of some future drops too. They're always dropping fire on their Instagram, so make sure you subscribe to their email list, follow their Instagram, and join their broadcast channel to never miss out. They're more than an apparel brand. They've got head covers, towels, tees, and anything else you could think of. Make sure to check out their grips too. I am wearing the socks right now. Got these. They did a little Del Campo collaboration. Am I going to show my feet? Yes. Okay. How about that for
How about it?
How about that? 150. Wait, I gotta see. No, they're Augusta Sox. Or they're not. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. They are
money doing that.
They're just 150. Yeah. But yeah, Sugarloaf Social Club almost never discounts their stuff, like hardly ever. And yeah, some of the stuff is probably sold out, but they are letting us give 10% off your first order made this week. Just use code DanOnGolf at checkout. Exclusions apply. Check them out at sugarloafsocialclub.com. We are going to bring on a guy who has joined us every single week, Rick Gaiman. How we doing, Rick?
Fellas, I didn't have my headphones in just yet, and I looked over and I just saw Dan's foot above the desk, and I didn't really know what was happening, but it's good to see you guys.
You like what you see or no?
I think I might have. I don't know. That was pretty flexible at the very least.
Yeah, I've been working on it. I might be the new Rick Gaiman. People are saying that. I was on Scottie Scheffler this week. Not exactly an out there going out on a limb, but he did win. Let's show our picks from this week. It was a tough one. We won with Mackenzie Hughes to miss the cut, and we won with Bryson DeChambeau. Rahm really hurt us.
Yeah, we've not had a good major season. Excuse me. We've not had a good major season. We've gotten them backwards. We had Scottie to win the Masters, Rory to win the PGA at the top of the board, and obviously we flipped those. The big one was Rahm's finish took us from what would have been a small marginal loss to like a pretty significant losing week. So that was the tough pill to swallow on a week where we missed the winner for sure.
Can we quit? Are we done with Patrick in the majors?
Yeah, we might be done with Patrick forever.
It was unserious.
There was not a moment of that golf tournament that he was not over par. I mean, he like bogeyed he was 4 over in the first 3, never sniffed getting back to even par. It was as miserable and as weak as I've seen in quite some time.
Well, the good news is the show rolls on. There's always another tournament, and we've got one this week. We've got they're at Colonial. Who's your pick?
This is bizarre, and I don't usually like to do this, but the options are pretty slim. So we're gonna roll with Scottie here. I love it. 2.5. At 2.5 to 1. I'm not concerned about the week after the major thing. He's won. He takes great pride in playing in Texas. Here's the stat for you. Last 36 rounds, which is a very predictive, I think it's the best number of rounds to look at. He's picking up 2.7 strokes to the field. It's an insane number. It's twice that of the next best golfer in the field, which is Tommy Fleetwood. The gap between number 1 Scottie Scheffler and number 2 Tommy Fleetwood is the same gap between number 2 Tommy Fleetwood and number 88 Carson Young. So Scottie is literally lapping this field right now, and I didn't like anything else at the top of the board.
Well, also, I think it's also a little bit of like the person that Scottie is, right? Where if another guy wins a major, like if Brooks wins a major, he's like going to Vegas. And if other guys win a major, you're going to see videos of them like drinking out of the trophy. Scottie was probably in bed at 11 o'clock last night.
Oh, yeah. And listen, it's the guys who have trouble after wins are the guys that don't do it very often. Scottie does it all the time. He knows the routine. He's going to stay for media. He's going to sign his flags. He's going to get home. He's going to do everything he normally does, and he's going to get right back at it on Thursday morning.
Yeah, I like it. I like having the best player in the world sleeping in his own bed. Give us a top 10 pick.
Yeah, so this one's Maverick McNeely, and this would have probably been, there are, as you can imagine, guys, there's like a lot of without Scottie Scheffler markets for this week, so you could just remove Scottie Scheffler. Might
withdraw situation, or
just because like it's almost like an insurance policy. Like if you just don't want to bet the tournament with Scottie Scheffler, who might just buzzsaw you, you can pick anybody else, and the odds are just a little bit shorter.
That's wild.
That way, if they finish second to Scottie, you still get paid out. So Maverick McNeely would probably be a pretty good option for the without market, but I took him for a top 10 wager here. He's been really great since Houston. He's got a handful of podium finishes this year at Torrey. He's got one at TPC San Antonio. He's got one at Harbor Town. He's one of the best putters that we've got out there, and I think he's going to be able to keep it in play off the tee. He's just playing really great golf right now, and there's guys who had to like play in the heat of the battle last week. You always worry about that after a major championship. And Maverick did the thing where he played just well enough did not have to expend more energy than I would hope for, and I'm rolling him right over.
And he's another guy who's pushing really hard for the Ryder Cup. He's right on the bubble. He got to play with the captain last week. Did all right in that, and he said, he said on this show, his goal is not to make the team; it's to win points at Bethpage. Bring us home with your last pick.
Yeah, it's a top 40 here, and it's Joe Highsmith. So Highsmith did the thing opposite of Scottie Scheffler. He won, and then he kind of slumped a little bit, but that's normal. That's always what we see, and especially for a guy with his first win. What I love is that he did not lose the putting during the slump, and that's the one thing that he's had issues with in his career. He actually goes, he's left-handed, so he goes right hand low, claw grip, reverse claw grip. It's like all three. It's like the most
I'm like confused
odd,
just thinking about it.
Yeah, go find it on like Getty. It is a totally bizarre.
So he claws his left hand and it's low?
So he goes right hand low. No, so he's left-handed. So he goes right hand low, uses his...
He claws with the top hand.
Yes, he claws with the top hand.
That's really bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's really weird, but it works. And he's picked up strokes putting in like 7 out of 9, and that was part of why he won back at the Cognizant. And now he's back to striking it well. So he gained strokes in all 4 major categories last week at the PGA. He finished T8. This is a really good convergence of trends for Joe Highsmith, and he's just a little bit more than plus money. He's plus 140 to finish inside the top 40 of what is probably going to be a pretty weak field.
I like it. He played well. He hit one of the dumbest shots I've ever seen on 18 on Saturday. You remember that? He was in the trees on the right, and he tried to hit like a rope hook. Can't hear you. We lost you. We lost your audio. Okay, well, our last pick is Joe Highsmith. No, I don't think it's your fault. It's not your fault. We love you. We love you very much, Rick. Bye. Bye. We'll see you later. I was just saying that he hit like the dumbest shot I've ever seen in the world, but he's a good young player. I like the lefty.
I think we're going 3 for 3 this week. I love that grid.
Yeah.
I think it looks really good.
You feel good about that?
I don't mean to jinx us, but
I like it. Grid. I like it too. Matt, we got Scottie, we got Mav, and we got
Highsmith. And coming off a T8, you think it's going to top 40 at this? Come on.
Yeah, no problem. Good. All right. Chirps from the gallery. It was not just a major championship out there for the players. It was a major championship out there for all of our internet warriors, and they did not deliver. They did not fail to deliver, I should say, this week. We're going to start with this guy, Byron Lindeek, had this hilarious anecdote about what his dad had to say upon seeing the leaderboard. He said, just sat down with my dad on the coach, and he says, man, it's been a while since I have seen Corey Pavone at the top of a leaderboard. I gotta see how old Corey Pavone is. He's 65.
Oh, wow, that's older than I thought.
Yeah. I like that he thought it was Pavone. He just, Pavone is Pavone. It's
what a brief, sweet moment for that dad. Where he was just like, man, the old guy still got it.
Corey Pavone still got it. Corey Pavone, really good stuff. Chris Powers bet on Bryson this week, and he was not happy. How many times is Bryson going to try to hit 9-iron 200 yards and come up short? Jesus fuck. So a little bit of frustration from CP. I think a lot of people were feeling that way. I noticed this moving on to the Charlotte uniform. A lot of dry fit polos and khaki shorts. Cannot stop laughing at how every male spectator at Quail is wearing literally the same outfit. Is this a Carolina thing? I think it's kind of a Southeast thing.
I think it's a fraternity brother thing. I think no matter what state you live in, what college you go to, if you have Greek letters tattooed on you somewhere or on a binder of your notebook somewhere, this is the uniform you're going to wear. I don't have a problem with it. I just want to say, all the inseams are correct here. They're nice short inseams. I like that. And I just wish one of them knew about the color navy. It can do wonders for you. They're all khaki.
Yeah, there's a lot of khaki going on. But I also noticed that myself. But they're comfortable. They're in shorts. They're in dry fit shirts. It's just, I don't like, for me, it's like the thing when I'm dressing, I just don't want to look like everybody else. And
that makes that tough. The other move that is quintessential to this is having a Gatorade bottle in your back pocket.
Okay.
You don't know if it's for hydration or for spit, but they always have it.
Okay. Our guy, Golf Visuals. Dave, Golf Visuals. Sunday Red Tiger, Sunday Vanilla for Scottie. I'm not buying this one. I'm not buying this one from Dave Golf Visuals. I don't think he's vanilla. He's getting a little fiery out there with the Mudballs. He shows emotion on the golf course. He's an all-time great. It's not vanilla for me anymore.
I think Scottie just is a master compartmentalizer in a different way than Tiger was. He finds the 5 seconds every win to let it all out for 5 seconds, and then he turns back into dad with the apron on at the grill.
Yeah, like I said, probably in bed by 11 p.m. yesterday. CP making a strong return. It was a major week for CP. He showed out. He said, I mean, what else do you want? This is the leaderboard. We had Scheffler, Rahm, DeChambeau, and then someone chimed in and said, actually, what we might want is replace the name Scheffler with Block, and you can actually do this. You can ask Grok to do something. Grok. And then here's what Grok responded with: bomb.
Bomb?
Instead of Block, it just says bomb. It's just John Rahm with a B. So Grok, funny stuff from Grok. And then they did it again. They said do it again, and it just came back with bomb again. John Bomb.
Oh, our jobs are safe.
Our jobs are safe for now. For now. It's coming.
I can't spell Whistling Straits right, but
yeah. I get what you were saying. You were saying straight, the direction.
I was moving fast.
Tybo on Twitter. This guy's got Tyler. He's got a hell of a parlay going. 3-team parlay. He hit Rory McIlroy plus 650 to win the Masters. He hit Scottie Scheffler to win plus 500 the PGA Championship. But unfortunately, he's got Patrick can't play in the majors at plus 3,000. And he said this is the worst possible place to be. I don't know if you can hedge out of that because it's the odds of Patrick Cantlay not winning. There's no incentive for them to let you cash out.
There's no cash out.
They're just going to be you have to bet on Patrick Cantlay to win at Oakmont.
Rick, are you Tyler?
Let's
be honest. This looks like
is this a burner? And then this one, we're going to finish the chirps with this. Probably my favorite one of the week. Scottie Scheffler is such a great story. Got out of jail, turned his life around, and hasn't reoffended. The system works. It's a lot of good jail content this week.
My favorite part of this is it completely bookended the week with talking about how Quail Hollow is a Kardashian. This is what Kim Kardashian does for a living now, is gets people out of jail.
Wow.
Look at that. Full circle moment on the floor.
We're changing the criminal justice system here.
That's right.
Little criminal justice reform. Amazing stuff, guys. If you enjoyed the show, do us a favor and like and subscribe. We're going to leave you, as we always do, with the clip of the week. And this is from when I was at Texas. I was asking some of the players and some of the coaches about what Scottie used to be like at Texas, because Scottie was a good college player, but he wasn't. No one really saw this coming, and I just thought this was really interesting. We'll see you next week, Golf Sickos. Oh, wait. Before we get there, Andy, come over here. We have something for you, Ben. Andy's going to make his first appearance on the show today.
Oh, my God.
Happy birthday to you. Guys, sing with me. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to Ben. Happy birthday to you. Okay, and now let's show Scottie Scheffler in college. We'll see you guys next week. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
So the best player in the world is a recent graduate of your guys' program. Is he around? Does he kind of help you guys out?
We see him every year for our Longhorn Pro-Am where all the guys will come back in town.
I was going to ask Coach Fields about what he was like in college.
Apparently he was super fiery, super heated.
Well, he's starting to show that a little bit now. He's a big fan of the how.
Yeah, he was a lot like that in college.
Yeah. He's intense.
Yeah.
I think people think that he's boring. He's not. He's super intense.
Yeah, he's super competitive.